You are now tuned into facts, transparency, results, process, authenticity, culturally competent, wise foresight, challenging, thought-provoking, clarity, unpacking, relatable, aware, present, proven solution.
Controversial, witty, unbiased, intentional, black, sexy, sassy, fresh. Whatever we question, we will put to rest. Whatever you question, we will try our best. Before you get solutions, you gotta have the proof. We just here to talk about the facts and the truth. Relationships, sports, entertainment, or the news. Enzo and Tiana, baby, go through and talk it through. Hey, baby.
Hey. How you doing?
Doing good today. How you doing today?
That's good. I'm doing good too.
Good.
So the topic for the day,
Whew, we got a lot to cover
or
today.
tonight.
Baby. Yeah, we got a lot to cover. We're gonna start off a little heavy for
Yeah.
episode 1 of season of the Pandemic Files.
Yep. Pandemic files.
We are covering for episode 1. This is our, wait for it, our COVID-19 edition.
Right.
It's about to get real. It's gonna get a little crazy, baby.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna get real serious up in here, so pay attention. It's time to buckle down and get serious about the antics going on.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm Tiana, for those of you who don't know, and
I'm Enzo.
all right. So we're gonna start off by addressing what we have all been going through as a country and as a people, which is the pandemic or COVID-19, aka coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna start off with saying that we don't have to explain to everybody, what COVID is. So many people have had it, know the symptoms, know what the actual virus is.
Right.
We wanted to get more into the origins of this thing and how we got to the point where now we're really panicking, I feel, as a nation, baby.
Yeah, for sure. It's a whole bunch of chaos going on, and we want to get to the bottom of it. Now, before we get to the bottom of it, how you want to start off, baby? You want to start off with, what's in the vaccinations? You want to start off with how it all started? You believe?
Yeah,
we believe it all started from, or where do you want to go from here?
Let's start with a little history before we jump into the big topic of vaccinations, because that's huge right now, and there's a lot to cover there.
Right.
So we just want to give a little background on where COVID came from.
Mm-hmm.
We've done our fair share of research.
Facts.
I'm sure as most of you have.
Mm-hmm.
So according to what we know, right, baby, it originated in a place called Wuhan, China.
Right.
Apparently was discovered not only now, but in the 70s or 80s.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and there were a couple of men from China who were exploring a bat cave, and they found the virus in bat feces, apparently, and they had the same symptoms documented that, COVID today. So that's apparently where it originated from bats in China.
Okay.
So they, according to our research, there's a virologist, Dr. Let me pull her name up.
Yeah, pull her up real quick.
Pull her up right quick.
Because I definitely want to, is the way it happened is, I never understood where disease or virus comes from anyway.
Right.
It's almost like, how long have we been on this earth?
Mm-hmm.
Then all of a sudden a virus pops up. I mean, I know there's been many diseases and things like that, virus, et cetera, but,
something of this magnitude, though, this is like bigger than.
Yeah, and for it to actually stem from a conspiracy theory that it was actual purposefully
Right.
released. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, and we're gonna
purposely
jump
released.
into where that information came from. There's a virologist named Dr. Li Meng Yan,
Okay.
who she claims that the coronavirus was made in a lab. So they almost as if they mass produced
Hmm.
this virus and released it. I mean, I'm saying that with a questionable tone because
Yeah.
is that what happened? Or like,
Yeah.
how
I
did it
mean,
get this widespread to the point where like every country is experiencing this, not just, North America, like every country. Like, how do we get to that
I
point?
think, see, that's the thing. The proof is a conspiracy.
Mm.
That's the proof. The proof
Right.
is we only can pinpoint that it supposedly comes from Wuhan, China, from a bat, et cetera, et
Right.
cetera.
Right.
Nobody was literally there, so
Mm-hmm.
you never know what could have actually been the case behind this thing that came out on the media. Even,
Right.
and I'm not gonna say these people are lying, such as this person right here,
Mm-hmm.
but you just never know the origin unless you were possibly already there
Right.
or
Right.
like is concrete evidence. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So we're going based upon what we've been told,
Right,
what's in the
basically.
media. We haven't actually traveled to China ourselves now
Right.
to, determine if
But
this
even
is
then,
a fact.
nobody's like doesn't have the concrete proof that nobody's like, yo, okay, this is what happened, guys. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's no
Exactly.
education behind this. Like, this is what happened for real. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
here's the bats, boom, 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 boom,
Right.
and somehow humans came in contact, and next thing you know, it spreads. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the possible scenario that makes sense, and I can understand that. But at the same time, it's just like, what a coincidence that,
Mm. That makes me
you know what I
think too,
mean?
like, how are they going to teach this to future generations? Like eventually this will pass. Everything does, right?
Right, yeah.
What are they gonna say about this to future generations? About
Yeah.
are they gonna finally be truthful and be like, oh, this could have possibly been a result of biochemical warfare from China? Because that's been rumored, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, so we that's where it stems from. That's where it comes from. That's the origin of this COVID-19. It
Hmm.
comes from, some type of freak accident, freak contact with the,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
Something crazy that we can't wrap our minds around completely, and everything that's been revealed is revealed with like a caution almost. It's like
yeah.
this information is out there, but be careful because this may not be 100% true.
Right,
Yeah.
so I guess that's what we get from where it started from. That part is like not even close to even a factor for
Hmm.
anything that's going on anyway. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
It's like at this point it's already a problem now. So
Hmm.
let's talk about that. So you want to talk about the actual vaccinations now? And or the virus actually, like this virus is yeah, let's talk about the vaccinations.
Yeah,
Like,
let's jump into vaccinations. And this is a very hot topic. And I want to preface this baby by saying anything that we're sharing is based upon research that we've done ourselves. It is not our job to persuade anybody to not get the vaccine or to get the vaccine. That is not the purpose
it's
of
not a
this
purpose at all.
conversation. This is just that, a conversation to talk through, the questions that, quite frankly, we all have.
Right, exactly. And
Um,
yeah, we've been doing some research. Now what's in the vaccines is the weird part that we already, it's this, we already know what vaccinations are. We know what
right.
antibodies are and stuff like that. But
And
from
if
it,
you don't, do a little research, or
yeah,
I mean, science, a little.
yeah, a little research or whatever. And I feel like but the thing is, we really don't get to a point where we actually read for ourselves
Right.
and
Right.
find out the actual process behind these inventions or
Mm-hmm.
technologies. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
absolutely. And I think it's very difficult to just accept at face value everything that we are told.
Right.
Um, I mean, we could just look at our country's track record. We aren't exactly the most honest.
At all. It's like, and then whatever
Like
you said, the face value part, without
Exactly.
research and stuff like that.
Yeah, so baby, you did a little research. We did a little research, and let's talk about how vaccines work with the viral vectors and what that all kind of means right now.
Yeah, so doing a little research or doing some fundamental research on this vaccination. First of all, the COVID-19 virus is has a protein in it. I mean, has the virus itself has a protein around it, and that's what they use. They extract that protein from the virus. You know what I'm saying? That surrounds the virus, and that's what they use to modify. They modify it then somehow. They modify the protein as and then they inject the actual the protein of the virus inside of you. So once again, they take the protein from the virus, the COVID-19 virus. Whatever they do with that protein, it is then modified or something transformed into a decoy type of situation. It's not it's really not the virus, but
right.
But then it's injected and it acts as a decoy and codes into your DNA, and then
codes into your DNA.
Yes.
I read something more recently that said that wasn't the case, however.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that alone, the fact that there are contradictions about even that information makes this something to talk about, something to question, something to really get down to the bottom of. I feel like as if we haven't been properly informed. We're just told now after not 100% knowing where COVID came from, but everybody is being mandated to get vaccinated. And not only that, but there are like 3 different kinds of the vaccine. There are these different strains of the actual virus. They're even predicting that there will be stronger, strains of the virus and things like that. So it's like
you can get sick even if you get vaccinated.
Right.
Like
and you can still
like
pass COVID even if you're vaccinated. And the vaccination is a way to prevent death from COVID.
And I wouldn't even say death because obviously with any type of virus or deadly disease or deadly virus, you could die.
Right.
But it's to enhance really your immune system.
Right, to enhance your immune system's response by your body creating more antibodies to fight off the virus if you were to contract it, which will lessen your chance, I should say, of dying from from COVID.
Yeah, so that's why death occurs because it's not a cure to stop it.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
It only enhances you, quote unquote, as a decoy even. So it's really like, what if the virus got smarter than a decoy? You know what I mean? Like,
which is possible. Viruses mutate, they definitely become stronger. And I've seen numerous articles where they're pushing boosters, and some are saying like, no, you don't need a booster. Just the regular doses of the vaccine are safe enough. But then you got people going and get 2 and 3 booster shots. Like, are we really that afraid that this COVID can overtake us to the point that, if you're not vaccinated, you're basically going to die eventually is the fear. And then if you are, it's just like, I guess you're protected, but still you could have adverse side effects. I mean, there's just so much that we're risking either way.
Yeah, it's like A, B, C, D, all of the above.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's what's really going on.
Where do we even begin to try to understand this and like dissect where we really what to do and
Yeah, and I think it's simple. It's not to overthink it and let us have our own choice.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's simple. It's already been like that through the basic part of our society, which is education. You can homeschool your children.
Right.
So therefore, you don't have to get vaccinated.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You can homeschool your children and but in order to be in public spaces, yeah, it's a vaccination
Mm-hmm.
code
Requirements.
requirement going on
Right.
for schools. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? But
Mm-hmm.
when it then bleeds over into the workforce and your
Right.
actual way of providing for you and your family or whatever, that's when it becomes a
Right.
problem. Like,
Let's jump into that.
yeah.
That's been huge in today's world.
Mm-hmm.
Mandates for the vaccine coming straight down the pipeline from, the president himself trying to mandate that companies with over 100 employees mandate everybody in their company become vaccinated. Of course, this has led to many people quitting their jobs, many
Right.
people being let go from their jobs, terminated. There are protests going on
Mm-hmm.
that people should have a choice. I mean, personally, I have my own personal experience with this as well, with the mandate, and
Yeah, let them know how it started off and how you came out of it. Go ahead, let them know, baby.
yeah, it was challenging,
Mm-hmm.
just because there's the push for the vaccine. There's been things personally that I've questioned. So making my own decision, I wanted my decision to be informed.
Mm-hmm.
So I personally decided that it wasn't for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my own personal belief. And
That's a strong and very th- real thing. You
hmm
know what I'm
and
saying?
I'm not the only one,
Right.
right? There are others who believe that it's not for them as well, and like
Mm-hmm.
it shouldn't be something that's being forced upon us to keep our position. And for me, I even work from home,
Mm-hmm.
so when the mandate came down, I'm like, wait a minute, like we work from home,
Yeah.
like what is this about? But
Right.
it was basically get the vaccine or your job will be terminated by a
Right.
certain date deadline. So there was the option, of course, for a religious exemptions
Mm-hmm.
and or medical exemptions or things like that. I don't know exactly what qualified.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's essentially like fighting for
Yeah.
your position.
Like, how can you fight something none of us can see, but a lot of us have a strong faith in?
Right.
You know what I mean?
And that's exactly what it was for me, baby, when I was going through this. It was stressful because I'm like, I was willing to let it go. My
Right.
position, I mean, I was willing to let it go. Like you are not going to force me to do something like I strongly
Yeah.
don't want to do.
Exactly.
Just based upon me being the woman that I am.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that I'm very headstrong about my faith and my foundation.
Right.
And as a believer. And that's just to say there are believers out there that are vaccinated and there are some that aren't, and it shouldn't be a fight between us.
Right.
Like
Why? It's like you want to mandate the unvaccinated, well,
mm-hmm.
then you have to do the same for the vaccinated. Why should you know?
Right, it's like almost like a persuasive argument, like
Why is my faith in God telling me to get vaccinated stronger than your faith in
mm-hmm.
God telling you not to
Not
get
to,
vaccinated?
right? So is it a battle of the faiths?
Yeah, like
Like
it's weird stuff
yeah.
going on that they don't realize. And for me, not to drift off topic, but for me, an example to think of something in that manner
Mm-hmm.
is like we got to understand for every action there's a reaction. For every one side there's another side.
Right.
It's a spectrum and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
we got to understand that, man. Stop trying to force people to fight each other
Right,
over
because we can't
oxymorons and stuff like that.
exactly, and we can't put each other in a box. Like I mean, and we can't put this past what's been happening. There have been people who have died from the vaccine
Right.
as well, though the number is not as high, as those who have died from COVID,
Mm-hmm.
from what we have been told.
Right.
Um, Nonetheless, had this person not got the vaccine, who's to say they would have survived otherwise?
Right.
So, and there have been adverse effects from some of the, I won't say brands of the vaccine, like the Johnson & Johnson one.
Yeah, for sure.
Where
Those blood clots and stuff
yeah,
like that.
exactly. So just knowing that, like, and then too, like, if there is 3 different kind of vaccines, how am I supposed to know which one to get? Like, are they all safe? Because I've heard
Right.
different side effects for all 3
Yeah,
already.
that's
I'm just like, okay, so there's 3 different kinds, and then now there's even a new pill form
right.
of some kind of, I don't think it's categorized as a vaccination, but it's something that's supposed to act as what the vaccines do when you get COVID, is to, build your immune system so
Right.
that you can fight it off. So
And
I'm
then
like, what?
speaking of that, it's
Right.
another doctor you were talking about who
Oh yeah, I remember.
observed this a vaccination solution.
Right. Yes, Dr. Carrie Madej.
Yeah.
It was a video going around, I believe it was on Instagram,
Mm,
and she was on the Stu Peters show.
right.
And she was saying that she had been asked to examine a vial of the vaccine,
Right.
of specifically the Johnson and the Moderna version of the vaccine.
Right.
And her findings, in which you can see in this video,
Mm-hmm.
were surprising, were shocking. You
Right.
could say she was seeing things such as, weird colors.
Mm.
And they, of course, they had it under
Cool
microscope and on the
Right.
glass plate with the slide cover.
Right.
And she was seeing high levels of metallic in
and this
there.
was during the first after, because you have to keep the things cool.
Exactly. So
So
the vial that she had reviewed was, she let it get to room temperature essentially,
right.
and this is when she saw kind of like the mutation of
Yeah.
what was in the vaccine vial. And of course, that's not to say 100% that's what's in all the vaccines, but if this is something that a doctor has seen, and she said the first time she seen it, she was surprised and she thought, okay, maybe it was just a fluke, but did it again and saw the same thing, where there was actually like an organism that she saw in there.
Right.
And she said some of the properties that she was seeing reminded her of nanotechnology. Now, that's
Dang.
another thing that's going around out there. Like I said, there's so much going on, like whether it's conspiracy or not, there's enough for us to raise question, like nanotechnology.
Right. Yeah.
So what's actually in these vaccine vials? Can I get a list of every ingredient in this vaccine?
Right.
Like, is that available to me?
Yeah.
Like, can I take a piece of the vial of vaccine? Can I go home and look at it underneath my microscope
Yeah.
and like determine if I can see those colors and that organism mutating? It's just like, there's enough there for us to question.
Not just the nanotechnology, but the quote unquote gene therapy that's even being done behind the science behind the viral vectors. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
We also
what's done behind that science? It's basically mutating your genes and stuff like that.
right. And we've seen videos of that and people talking about that as well.
Yeah.
I know there was a teacher who was saying all the vaccine is gene therapy. Like,
Yeah.
you mean to tell me that all these people are getting all this information from somewhere?
You mean to tell me that my whole life as a kid, me getting vaccinated, I've been just doing gene therapy?
Right.
That's
like
weird.
And then too, we have to address the fact that the requirement for a vaccine comes across as a shock to those who have to prove that their way of life is
Right.
worth living.
Right.
Almost as if when I was going through that process, to sit there and almost felt like I was preaching to a group of people to persuade them that my beliefs were legitimate.
Right.
And it felt really awkward. Like, like, this isn't, why do I have to preach to you?
You felt like you were at a psychological war.
Exactly. Like, if I say the wrong thing, they gonna use this to,
or just
approve or deny any request I put out there. So it was it was an experience that
it
I didn't think I would
I
ever have
think
to
it
go
was
through.
ineffable. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Things so ineffable. You can't describe it. Things like that is so indescribable because it's so extreme that at that point it becomes a real war to fight for your livelihood, your
Right.
existence.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like that's just what it is. Like
Mm-hmm.
uh like one of the Wayans brothers said, I think it was Damon Wayans. He was like, you might as well just look me in my eye
Mm.
and tell me, when it comes to this you know, freedom of speech, what we put out there and what we research, you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Tell me I don't have a right to say what I want to say anymore.
Right.
Just look me in my eye and tell me that so we can know what it is.
Right. So we can
You know what I mean?
understand
Yeah,
exactly, what it is that we're dealing with.
exactly. Like, so if you're gonna make me fight for my religious beliefs, just tell me that. Look, we don't care
Mm-hmm.
about your beliefs. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
So
Like it really came down to that though. It's like people, and there I have heard of some getting their religious exemptions denied. So
right.
it's not as if I don't know, is everyone's religious beliefs not valid now? Like, do we have a right to
Yeah.
question that when we should have freedom of religion? I don't know. It's
Hmm.
just so many questions that we can ask. Bottom line is freedom of choice for our bodies, for what we believe is safe for us. Because truth be told, COVID is something that we as a nation didn't handle correctly.
Right.
It was something that started in China, that was known about,
Hmm.
that was allowed over here. And at first it was like shut everything down. There was a
Hmm.
stay at home mandate, there was a mask mandate.
Facts.
You remember the grocery stores were
Yep.
going crazy. Everybody
Tissue
was buying,
situation.
yeah, no tissue, hand sanitizer. Like y'all should have been had hand sanitizer anyways,
Yeah.
and soap and stuff, like cleanliness.
Right.
But anyways, it was just like a panic. And
Hmm.
the stay at home order, of course we all experience, what it was like to have the world shut down,
Hmm.
just to go outside and nobody's out there,
Right.
almost like a zombie apocalypse.
Hmm.
Right?
Hmm.
So when things started to slow down, I think America panicked because of the loss of that economic thriving that it was used to, right?
Hmm.
All these businesses are shut down. Nobody's really working anymore.
Yeah.
That led this nation to make a decision to open back up prematurely.
Facts. That's
Yeah.
exactly what happened. We should have stayed locked down, but you know, you made a statement earlier. You said something like, at this point, this ain't a fight. You said something. What did you say?
Yeah, there was I was reading a statement, and just, scrolling on Facebook.
Hmm.
And it was talking about how the requirements for like COVID safety precautions
Hmm.
didn't make sense anymore.
Right.
So it was like you can do certain things, but you can't do certain things, but those things will put you at the same risk. Like, for
Hmm.
example, one of them was like a spouse not being able to be at the ultrasound anymore,
Hmm.
with their, pregnant
Yeah.
spouse or whatever.
Right.
And another one was like someone not being able to visit their grandparent in
Hmm.
a nursing home, which things that were prevented, but there were other things that were still allowed, like people still being allowed to be in the same space and
Hmm.
things like that. It's just like, is this really about safety anymore? Or are you really trying to control a certain
Yeah.
aspect of life? Because
Hmm.
everything that's a risk should have been stopped or shut down.
Yeah.
Not like, oh, you can have a gathering of 10 or more people.
Right.
It only takes one person,
Yeah.
to
Sounds like
spread
some
that.
type of
So,
conditioning that they trying to do for
right.
something greater. Because that's
Yeah.
all. It doesn't. None of it makes sense. And at this point, it is like you question what's really going on at this
Right.
point.
And I certainly have definitely questioned what's going on because, our nation's response to this, like they gave out like the stimulus checks, but
Hmm.
barely enough for anybody who lost a job. What's $1,100, $1,200? What's $600 gonna do? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you mean to tell me?
Yeah, it's kind of like, it kind of looks like the premature opening of America again. It looked like an excuse to mandate the vaccine.
Right.
That's how it's looking. Like,
Right.
yeah, I did that on purpose. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
come on, man. Like, cause what are you really trying to do? And you know, I just look at all this stuff like, man, like we were touching on earlier, we have a history with things like this, and
Absolutely.
it comes from white supremacy. You know, it comes from the fight for our rights as Black people. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So
Let's touch on that a little bit
yeah,
about just historically our background with I would say the medical field completely as a people. Um, it wasn't too long ago that we were in segregation, 50, 60 years ago.
right.
So now for us to just trust everything that comes down the pipeline is really, we meet with skepticism because this society was not developed with Black people in mind.
Right.
Everything this society is founded on is anti-Black, it seems.
Yeah.
Anti really people of color. All we can fathom is how they took from us, and when we stole us and brought us over here and treated us as animals, and experimented on us with these different everything, vaccines and procedures under the false conception that Black women don't feel pain, so they're less attended to during pregnancy even. So there's just so much that we can meet with skepticism and question because we have never been treated equal as a people. And this isn't exempt from that because quite frankly, do you think that our nation, our country didn't understand who would go and get vaccinated without thinking twice and who would question it before?
I mean, that's the point. You know, this country doesn't even care about the thought process of the people anyway. You know, we could send out, they could have did a real live massive survey sent out to everybody's home and fill out the survey and return it back, or some type of online survey, fill it out and return it back, how you feel about mandating a vaccine. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it lets you know they don't even care about us at the end of the day anyway. That's the whole point. Like,
for a country that pushes or states it's a democracy, where the people matter, like, let's be real. This entire society is undergirded by white supremacy, which is a foundational of critical race theory. Meaning that the science itself has focused on the dominant race, which is Caucasian. Even studies that we do scientifically, psychological studies, medical studies, things like that, you only have access to people who are in the majority. So a lot of the reports and things like that we read, a lot of the information we read, this research has not been done on communities of color, people of color. This research is done on the popular or the most majority population. So,
and to be exact, the majority is 100 million Caucasians to the rest of the population that's divided in that populace. So
and then what I would be interested to see as well is, based upon us being genetically different, how COVID is impacting different groups of people. Like, it's impacting all of us, but I would imagine that the genetic makeup of some cultures versus others, there would be a difference in how it works in us, or how it affects us, or even, I would say, even vaccines. Like why are there, like I said earlier, 3 different kind,
but think about it like this: for racism to exist, all of a sudden the vaccine is universal to all of us.
That's one thing that all races should agree on.
You know what I'm saying? All races should agree that the vaccine is universal to help all races, but we're all different though. Transsexuals, black and white, homosexuality, disease, infected, disabled, handicapped. We're all different,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying, in a
Right.
way, but yet this vaccination, everybody's like, if you don't get the vaccination, something's wrong with you.
Right, exactly.
But
And it's almost like a battle between vaccinated versus unvaccinated. And then we've seen the jokes on TikTok like everybody vaccinated and turning into zombies, in years to come versus
so I would touch on that. That's how crazy this is.
yeah,
Because
is that crazy?
your mind starts to drift off.
Yeah.
Like, what if
What
this
if?
was a chess move? Like, the next thing you know,
Right.
10 years later, I mean, we don't want to speak on that, but
We
things
don't.
start happening.
Right.
Side effects or more death.
That would
You know
be
what I mean?
unfathomable.
That's crazy.
That
to
reminds
think
me
about.
of the movie that I made you watch with me,
Mhm.
the Belko experiment, right?
Yeah.
Where these employees were microchipped. They had to be to work at this place.
Yeah.
And what they did was they started controlling these people.
Mhm.
Like, hey, you got to kill this many people in this much time or all y'all.
Yep.
And then they didn't think it was real. They're like,
Right.
this isn't real.
Next thing you know, brains start exploding.
Man, everywhere. It was crazy. But like I said, that's far-fetched.
It's
We're
far-fetched.
not going to get into
Yeah.
that too much. But
That's how crazy this is. It makes
Right.
you start wandering off into the abyss with it. You know what I mean? So,
absolutely.
but I mean, let's also talk about, get back into the previous part of this that we touched on, which is, the actual direct effect of how it's affecting people in school getting their degrees.
Right.
Let's talk about that. What happened to a personal acquaintance or a friend of yours that
Right.
went through
Yeah.
this,
Absolutely. I have a personal experience with that as well. I was accepted into the PsyD program to get my doctorates. And with this vaccine mandate, it was mandated that to complete that program, you had to be vaccinated.
Right.
So it's almost as if, like, what do our degrees mean anymore if we have to be vaccinated to practice, what we've gotten an education for? That's even beyond what I can fathom.
Excuse me.
But there's also mandate for most university students to be vaccinated. I have
Right.
friends that attend universities who are in the same boat with a lot of us, not sure the vaccine is for them and not choosing at this point not to, inject themselves with it, which should be a choice. So
And things like, you going to school for 5 to 6 years, and all of a sudden, right before you graduate, they say you
Right.
can't get your degree unless you get vaccinated.
Right, which is crazy. So I went to school for 4 or more years. I've paid hundreds of thousands of dollars by this point, and you're going to tell me that if I don't inject myself with this vaccine that I can't graduate?
Right.
That you're going to hold my transcripts and I can't move on in my life after doing all my homework and passing all my classes?
Right.
Like, who are you to tell me that I got? And then the crazy part is a lot of the mandate for the vaccine is for students only, not for staff. Why?
Yep. Right.
Why would it be that?
It doesn't affect the higher ups like the Congress and stuff like that.
Right. Even government employees,
exactly,
as high as Congress, are not even required to report vaccination status. And speaking of reporting vaccination status, when has it been so open that someone should report their vaccination status? Like, we can't go and ask someone who's infected with HIV or AIDS their status.
Those are deadly viruses.
You can't go and that's disrespectful.
Like, literally, they have these policies at jobs where if you have a virus and you get punctured and blood starts squirting out, you have to take precaution.
Right.
You have to put on gloves, goggles. You don't want to get infected by that blood, that pathogen.
Right.
Absolutely. And it should be the same for the COVID vaccination. It shouldn't be mandated. It just should be treated like every other deadly virus that could possibly infect people.
Right. And we can talk about, too, the properties of COVID. yes, it has led to deaths, but what is the process from somebody getting COVID and then getting extremely ill to the point of death,
Mm,
you know,
right.
versus like someone who gets the flu, but
It's just
you
it
know,
sounds about the same to me.
right? Like that's how we categorize as like a
A strong
strong flu.
flu.
If the flu shot
I,
isn't mandated,
right, but even then, I would say the flu sounds a little bit stronger than this COVID stuff.
yeah,
In a
there's
sense of like, if the flu can attack a strong immune system such as myself, I've heard of young people getting the flu and
mm-hmm,
really getting sick. Some
right,
people even dying from the flu. Like, you know
mm-hmm,
what I'm saying? But yet COVID only attacks underlying conditions
mm-hmm,
or the elderly.
right,
And
and
it can cause side effects, but the side effects, I it has obviously hasn't led to death, because then it would be a death. So
mm-hmm,
if it leads to side effects, the flu sounds a little bit stronger to me. And there's no side effects for the flu. You're either gonna get the flu and live, or you're gonna get the flu and die. You know what I
right,
mean? Like, it's
right.
like, I'm not playing with you.
Right. And
you
they
know?
recommend the flu shot to try to, you know,
Yeah.
prevent, or increase your immune system's response to getting the flu, much like what people are experiencing
Right.
with COVID. So, with those
Yes.
two being very similar, it's just like I said, we can even talk about this is the only vaccine that people have almost been bribed to get. Like,
Yeah.
why was it that case that, there was bribing going on to get
Man, it
this
was so
thing?
crazy. I mean, I I've looked it up,
Mm-hmm.
and there's this conspiracy theory about false information on the internet, or the internet tailoring to your own biases. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
you get the answer you're actually looking for.
Right.
I'm not that type to believe in that stuff, so I do a lot of critical thinking before I believe things. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I've looked up that Oregon. Uh, in Oregon, it's crack cocaine and stuff is legal. So they were bribing people in Oregon with crack cocaine and stuff like that to take the vaccination.
Which is crazy.
That's crazy.
Right. Because you mean to
Like,
tell me we're going to, we don't, how much do they care about your health really if they want to
yeah,
give
if
you
they want to
crack
give you drugs,
to get a
uh,
shot?
marijuana is not even a federal thing now. Right
Mm-hmm.
now, and you're trying to bribe me with some
Joints
marijuana.
and, yeah, they
So
were joints,
marijuana
get
is
a
not
shot, get a
even
joint.
legal in my state. But if I wanted to get vaccinated, you want for some marijuana, you want me to travel to another state to go get some free marijuana where it's legal to
Mm-hmm.
get vaccinated.
They were even like
It's like all of
payments
these.
too, right? They were offering,
Yeah,
I don't know,
like,
was it like $100 or something like that? Like
so,
almost
you
like an
know.
experiment. So
Yeah, it sounds like some sovereign state making deals with each other, you know, and the rich stand rich, and it's the money thing. It just sounds like money.
right.
It sounds like some money's going on amongst these people, some
I-
dirty money or something like.
it's very dirty.
Yeah, so.
Dirty money. Yeah, I mean, because we can't, our nation is very greedy.
Mhm.
uh Money seems to make this world go round, and all that matters because let's talk about it for real.
Right.
Do the people really matter here?
Mm.
Like, nah,
No,
people don't really matter here.
no,
It's
not at
more
all.
about the financial state of the country,
Mhm.
money.
Mhm.
I mean, at the end of the day, you feel like money can afford you a
Right.
certain status.
Mhm.
But we can even talk about how money isn't separating us, and when it comes to questioning and curiosity about the mandate for a vaccine.
Exactly. Like, I said, with this vaccine, you'll start seeing celebrities live amongst us,
Yeah, you
and we see
definitely
it
said
now.
that.
Kyrie Irving. I'm not gonna play because I don't want to get vaccinated. That's my right to choose.
A man who dominates on the court
Dominates on the court, but
was willing to say, "I'm done balling. I'm
it's
not."
like, man,
Yeah,
how many instances do we have to have for y'all to realize y'all are doing some wicked things? Like,
right. It
stop
just
it.
it's the amount of control. I feel as if a mandate can come down to try to control an entire nation that they must be vaccinated
But
to live.
here's the crazy part, right? As much bloodshed, as much slavery that's been going on, as much crazy stuff. The whole United States has been industrialized. Then it became technological. A
Mm-hmm.
crazy technological era came about.
Right.
I'm talking about we've accomplished so many things through evil tactics.
Mm.
I would put it past this to be some evil tactic.
Right. And it's just like, it's sad that we can't put that
Yeah.
past our society,
Right.
because our society is so easily swayed, and like we're quick to jump in other people's business. And
Right. Because
uh
go ahead. I'm
I was
sorry.
gonna say, even when it comes to the vaccine, uh there have been almost false promises made to provide these other countries with
Mm,
um like a big package of vials for the vaccine that
mm,
these countries are complaining that they're not getting. So
right.
like, how much do we really care if this is a deadly virus and we
Right.
have the resources in this country where we've
Mm,
come up with a vaccine that's safe?
mm,
Why are we not sending this to all the countries to try to help the world? If we're
mm,
America, we love everybody, trying to
right.
protect everybody from what this is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, we have to ask ourselves that too. It's just so many things that we can question about how we are going about the mandate and how we are going about enforcing it in this country.
Right. Yeah. All in all, whatever's going on, um, y- you can't force anybody to do something that they don't want to do. Because at this
Right.
point now, you're implying some weird, indirect message that we are on your tail to get you guys back into some slavery, but 2.0.
Right. I
Like, I
cannot
just,
fall for slavery too. I
yeah,
don't think I could have survived in slavery 1.0. I'm not going to say
yeah,
survive, but just trying to imagine living in a time like that is hard for me to imagine. So
yeah.
even
So,
the thought that this could be something remotely close to that is something worth addressing. Like, I wish I
right.
can go and I want to just see behind everything, baby. Like, can I just
Mm,
see behind what y'all telling us? Like, what's
yeah.
really going on in the White House? Like, does the president even really know what's going on? Because last time I checked, he ain't even the one that makes the decisions.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, with all that being said, I think that we covered about everything we needed to, and it's the solution now, since we already have the proof and we, discussed what the proof is. The solution is to allow people to have their own choice, you know.
right, to make an
Uh,
informed decision. Of course, like I said earlier, this isn't to deter people from whatever choice they feel is right for them, but
right,
personally, just feeling as if a mandate is unreasonable.
right.
It should be a choice for those who do choose.
Mm-hmm.
That's your choice. For those who don't, that is your choice. But there should be no judgment. There should be no looking down on one
Yeah,
another. I shouldn't be looked at as less of a human because of my decision,
yeah.
whether I choose to get vaccinated or not.
This is getting real crazy anyway, but yeah, I say keep the fight, man. Um, uh, uh, we experienced this in real life. They tried to question our integrity, our intelligence, our belief in God, and we won that fight.
Right. Yeah.
So
And it was a victory that we
yeah,
did celebrate.
right.
So, like I said, it's not a battle of whose faith is stronger. You have some that'll argue that God is pro vaccine. You have some that will argue against that. But at the
Yeah,
end of the day, that shouldn't be the argument.
yeah,
But we do encourage all of you to stay informed, do your research, and to keep this conversation going. Don't be afraid to have these conversations because you're afraid. We can't be afraid to question contradiction in front of us.
correct.
It's so evident.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I was even addressing contradiction from Dr. Fauci himself,
Mm-hmm.
who at first
said this was, hey, it's not that serious. No, we don't need to mandate a vaccine.
Right.
But now it's saying the complete opposite. So these scientists and doctors aren't even 100% sure how to get a handle on this or
It
things like that.
it makes you think too, for you to be for the system or the society we live in to hand people degrees because the degrees come from studying. We earn these degrees for y'all to try to make us feel like we're crazy. You know what I'm
Right. Or
saying? It's like a
inadequate.
spit in the face. Like,
Right.
well, what is really forget taking away our jobs and degrees if we don't get vaccinated? What is really at this point the meaning of passing the baton down? Why it
Right.
seems like these people who are leading us are failing. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all have to stop this. This is getting ridiculous because it's a real, we have to heal for real. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Like, we got to stop creating illnesses, whether it's social illnesses, physical illnesses because of money. You know what I'm saying? We got to stop feeding greed, ego. We got to stop doing all this stuff.
Right. I would say even too, falling into the entrapment of societal fear. I feel like COVID has been one of those topics that they have put so much negative information in the media that this is a topic that people fear.
Commercials.
There are commercials like promoting vaccines, the vaccine, and I mean we saw the commercial.
Yeah, the commercial was so weird.
It didn't sit right with me.
And they made it about black people. That was a real concern for me. Like, yeah, it had other races in there, but it seemed like the focus was black people.
It was a big part of that.
If I'm not mistaken, I think it was majority black people in that commercial.
No, you are correct. And even
like with the world,
even in the way that they presented that, like,
come on, man, like
it didn't seem genuine. You know what they were saying. Even, of course, they're trying to stick to the facts, but you can even start Googling questions about COVID, and all that's gonna pop up is, oh, where you can get vaccinated, and they're hiding the proof and the information under the requirements, the mandates. Even you can go on Instagram and pull up if anybody posts about COVID, automatically there's going to be an indicator that pops up on that post that says COVID information. Same thing with Facebook, where it'll pull up, where you can get vaccinated, things like that, which I think it is, technology is advanced to that point where we should be aware of areas that are highly infected and get your butt from around there,
Right, yeah.
So we've gotten to that point. It's just something that we felt important to bring to the forefront because we don't want to be afraid to have these conversations. We don't want to be afraid to say that we are skeptical. We don't want to be afraid to say that as Black people, why should we trust this? Why should we trust our society mandating a vaccine when all they have ever done was experiment on us and treat us less than? And even so, our population is one of the least help-seeking populations when it comes to physical and mental health, for good reason, because we have experienced such trauma in this area. And I would also promote people becoming familiar with holistic medicine and our history as a people. That's, what we survived on.
Right.
So these vaccines and things like that, that's part of living in today's world, today's society. But we don't have to succumb to the information that we're given. Like, definitely stay open-minded.
Yeah, and we have to look at the history of the pharmaceutical industry as well. I can't just walk in life if we talk about how we treat each other in life, but yet because these are businesses and corporations, they get a pass because it's just business.
Right.
No, they don't get a pass because it's just business. We have to be morally correct, when it comes to things, so.
Definitely. Well, we are gonna go ahead and encourage our audience again. Keep this conversation going. We definitely want to hear from you. We have so many more topics coming down the pipeline.
Facts.
We just wanted to start here because this is a big trending topic, and we're all living through it. We're all in the pandemic files right now.
The pandemic file.
We just want to encourage everybody, stay safe, stay informed, and we'll be back.
Proof and Solutions. We definitely will be back.
Yep. And you know what we say?
Before you get
solutions,
you gotta have the proof.
You gotta have the proof.
There you go.
All right, y'all.
Pull up in that all black, smoking on spliff, I keep a pack. Hop out the whip and I hold her hand. Cause me and my baby tied down to these bands. Ain't no friends, it's barely fam. These niggas ain't pop, these niggas all cat. These niggas subpar, not even that. I'm nothing like you used to, freaking these racks. I take out the K and I'm moving these packs. So keep all the fame, I'm securing these bags. Full of these niggas with the price on the tag. And I'm from with her, don't think I just smashed. She is my cue to the end, that's facts.
Yeah, they call me true, something like the brightest in the room. I told them catch me in the booth, speaking all facts, straight truth. Not to be rude, part of my attitude. Some of y'all like to allude, it ain't even truth. Tell them it's true. This is my anthem. I'm tired of the annex, you all in a panic. Look at the fandom, all of this pandemonium. We only kick it with some of them. See the same haters, hello again.